Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start the class with some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Bhur Bhavaswa, Tatsavitra Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat, Asto Ma Sadgamya, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya, मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गम्य ओम सहनावतु सहनावनतु सवीर्यं कर्वावै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहि ओम शांति शांति शांति. Last Wednesday we talked about Gyan Kand. Today a little more information about the Karam Kand. As we all know that Hindu culture is essentially a Vedic culture. It's also called Vedic Sanskriti, since it is based on the authority of the Vedas. And subject matter of the Vedas is classified into three parts. Karam Kand, you can call it a ritualistic portion. Upasana Kand, worship portion. And the Gyan Kand, the knowledge portion. And the Vedas point out that the purpose of human life is to realize and to know the absolute truth, the absolute reality. Not just to live superficially in the world of appearances. So in order to know this truth, the mind must be prepared and purified. So that's why the very first portion of the Vedas, the Karam Kand, is meant for acquiring this purity of the mind. Always keep that in mind. When we act and respond in this world to different situations and experiences, our actions and responses tend not to be objective. They are often prejudiced, colored, and conditioned by our personal likes and dislikes. And those are the expressions of our vasanas, the subtle impressions, or you can say inherent tendencies gathered in innumerable lifetimes. When we act prompted by our vasanas, rather than guided by the knowledge of what is right and wrong, we further strengthen those likes and dislikes. And in result, we keep on making our mind more and more impure. Okay, so those strong likes and dislikes constitute the impurities of the mind. So how can we purify the mind? The answer is provided in the Karam Kand, or the ritualistic portion of the Vedas. We will see, in fact, that the mental purity attained through the Karam Kand is directly related to the single pointedness that is attained through the Upasana portion of the Vedas. When the mind is full of impurities with many likes and dislikes, desires, anger, passion, then the mind will also be agitated by these emotions. On the other hand, to the extent that mind is pure, it will be calm and single-pointed. Let us see how Karam Kand or Karam achieves this goal of mental purity for us. Most of the people have the idea that the Karam Kand refers to only rituals, the yajnas, the havans, the pujas. So a lot of people, they get frightened by the word and wonder, how am I going to do all these rituals? Because sometimes these rituals are so complicated. But this is an incomplete and superficial understanding. In Karam Kand, different kinds of actions or karams are prescribed for different purposes. Vedas are full of the Karam Kand. These types of karam or rituals are called, the first kind are called kamya karam. Those are the actions prompted by a desire to get a particular result. So they are done by choice, kamya karam. For example, some rituals are given for the attainment of heaven. Let him who has a desire for heaven perform the Jyotishtom sacrifice. Other sacrifices are for the attainment of wealth or for conceiving children, such as Putreshti Yagya. Even King Dashrath performed that. These rituals are meant for the fulfillment of particular desires and are only required if one has a desire for a particular object. Otherwise, these rituals are obsolete. Another type of karam or ritual is called Nitya Karam. According to our respective stage of life, a duty is assigned to us which we are to perform daily for the discipline of our mind. For example, a brahmachari, a student, must do Gayatri Mantra as a daily duty. The householder, the vanprastha, and the sannyasi are all given particular daily duties. These duties are meant to bring discipline into our lives. Because we are at this moment very indisciplined in our actions. Indisciplined means licentious. We sleep whenever we want. We wake up when we want to wake up. And we eat at any time, whether we are hungry or not. If we see things on sale, we purchase them, whether we need them or not. We indulge in many things just because they are available. Today, this Vedic culture is little known, and it is only rarely that the grandparents can pass the tradition on to the grandchildren. Many parents also do not know the culture and religious traditions, and whatever little values the children gather, they absorb only through the media. It could be the television, it could be the phones, or any other media. It is interesting to note that television has become the guru. Instead of Acharya Devo Bhava, consider the guru as God, we have gone to television Devo Bhava. Whatever information gather from there or from Google. On some of the programs, children are taught to have consideration for others, to be accommodating, and not to fight with each other. But there are some programs completely different, and children learn to think, why should I have consideration for anyone else? I have my own individuality. I need freedom. Or a popular saying these days, I need my space. So the main point is that there should be discipline in our lives. And in order to teach our children, we ourselves must undergo some discipline. Because we know that the children do what we do, not what we say. Sometimes they'll do opposite of what we say. So if, for example, as soon as you wake up in the morning, you have a desire for a cup of tea or coffee, but you make the rule that unless you do neti, pranayam, asana, you will not have the tea or coffee. This in itself will be a great accomplishment. If you can keep at least one of these disciplines in your life, the mind will slowly come under your control. In any and all of these disciplines, we are slowly learning to control our urges. This is very important. So whereas the Kamya karams are performed out of choice by the person who has a desire for a particular object, Nitya karams are daily disciplines required according to our stage in life. Whether we are students, householders, retired persons, or renunciates. We are told that we must abide by these disciplines meticulously, and that only under extraordinary situations are we to relax them. But what is happening in our case is just the opposite. For instance, we are allowed to sleep more if we are especially exhausted or ill. But only occasionally do we decide to get up early to do some special activity or worship. In other words, only now and then do we decide to follow the rule. So that which is exception has become the rule for us. And that which is supposed to be the rule has become the exception. So this is why our willpower is not strong. And when we cannot follow even a simple discipline, we find it impossible to face bigger challenges. And we start cursing ourselves. But when we perform some discipline regularly, we see that our willpower is strengthened in many ways. Let's take a simple example. Suppose we decide to get up regularly at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Then we will also have to go to sleep early. If we go to sleep early, we have to eat earlier and have only light food. Also, television watching or whatever other activity we continue to do until late at night will be reduced. Aside from this, if we rise early in the morning, we can work without any disturbance. And we find so much extra time available. So even if we are able to keep one discipline in our lives and make it a very strong rule for ourselves, many other aspects also become disciplined and under our control. So that's why it's said that you have one good friend, pretty soon you will see that many good friends you are accompanying with. And if there's a one enemy in you, or if you have company of one bad person, pretty soon a group of bad people will be around you. So the same thing happens with the habits also. So by this Nitya Karam, we slowly gain mastery and control over our minds. Third type of Karam is called Kartavya Karam. That means the duties enjoined on us by others, such as parents, teachers, the government, or even by our place of employment if we are working. A youngster may reject his parents' rules and refuse to obey them. But when he goes to find a job at a restaurant, he will have to obey the boss. He may not wash his own cup or plate at home. At the restaurant, he'll have to wash everybody's dishes. Otherwise, he'll be fired. Similarly, even though we may revolt in one place, no matter where we go, there will be some duty we must fulfill. In fact, it is the effort or sincerity with which one tries to fulfill his or her duties that we really respect. If we start our own business or industry or employ many people, what is it that we expect from others? Do we not expect everybody to be obedient and disciplined? Will we tolerate or allow any employee to continue if he is inefficient, indisciplined, lazy, or not punctual? Some people think money alone is everything, but we really respect only those higher values and good qualities like sincerity, honesty, punctuality in each other. The problem is that we want and expect these values to be in others, but not in ourselves. We may earn money by any means, fair or foul, but we want our accountant to be honest. We expect our employees to be sincere and honest, even if we are not. These higher values are what we really respect and admire. Success comes only to a person who is well disciplined in his life. Because without discipline, no success is possible. So the Vedas, they tell us to be steadfast in our duties. Whether they are only simple, daily duties, or duties enjoined on us by others. So in other words, whether they are nitya karam or whether they are kartavya karam. Do not consider what others are doing or not doing. Be only concerned about fulfilling your own duties. Also, in the fulfillment of duty, the question of likes and dislikes should not arise. We must have the attitude that we do this work because it has to be done now. So the first portion of the Vedas advocates the taking up of daily discipline and doing it consistently, without compromise. We must remain steadfast in them. We are also instructed to slowly reduce our desire-prompted activities. That is the kamya karam. We got to reduce those. And the constant expectations of what will I get? Reduce that also. Of course, we should also not indulge in prohibited karam. Prohibited karam is nishidh karam. We should stay away from them. That means the actions that are below our human dignity, like stealing or killing. Prohibited actions are generally motivated by desires that force us to do anything to anybody to satisfy the desires. So in the Karam Kand portion of the Vedas, there are many types of instructions. Do this, don't do that. But we are very allergic to these instructions. If anyone says, do this, right away we say, why should I? And if we are told, don't do this, we say, why not? We do just the opposite of what we are told. This is a meaningless revolt, however. The point is that when we are given so many rules and regulations to follow, we feel that we are being bound and restricted by our parents, teachers, society, or even by the government. But if we go to the scriptures or Guru and ask, why are you giving us all these injunctions and commandments? Why are you binding us? If the ultimate goal is freedom, why are you binding us? The scriptures and Guru's reply, we are not binding you. You are already bound. How? By your likes and dislikes. By your desires and anger. We are actually releasing you from your bondage. This point we have to understand when we do follow the Karam Kand. If we understand the purpose behind scriptural injunctions and remain steadfast in self-discipline and duty, we will see our minds becoming calm, pure, and single-pointed. So far we have seen the Kamya Karam, actions performed in order to gain a particular result, the Nitya Karam, the daily discipline, and the Kartavya Karam, duties imposed upon us by others. There's another kind of ritual performed, mentioned in the Vedas, in the Karam Kand portion. It is called Sanskar Karam. These rituals are seen everywhere, throughout every individual's life. In the Vedic age, there was a ritual performed at the birth of a child, or even before the conception of a child. And later on, when the child goes to school or Gurukul, the sacred thread ceremony was performed. When school ended, a convocation ceremony called the Samvartan Sanskar was performed. Though many people are now protesting against these kinds of rituals, we are only replacing them with all our modern social rituals, actually. But in those modern social rituals, there's no sanctity. In fact, those modern social rituals, they are bringing more and more greed in us, not the purity. This Karam Kand portion was supposed to purify our mind, not make our mind dirty. Because we see the graduation ceremonies, all about show off. It's not like a sanskar. Birthdays are not like that. It's all about getting gifts. Mother's Day, even mothers want gifts, or they expect the children to take them out. Father's Day, Valentine's Day, Independence Day. All those days have become just a show off. They don't purify our mind. Even the weddings, that's a vivaha sanskar. There are 16 sanskars in a Hindu's life according to the Vedic culture. The marriage ceremony is also a very important ritual in which two individuals promise in front of other people that they are accepting each other. They are accepting the responsibilities as husband and wife. So when a person is elected president also, we see the rituals performed. They go through the inaugural ceremony. That is not, isn't that a ritual itself? So as human beings, starting from the Vedic time, even up to now, we are doing the rituals. But are we doing the rituals with the right frame of mind or not? That's what we have to see. Our Vedic rishis, they created that to purify our mind, to take us towards the ultimate goal. But the way we are doing rituals now, they are taking us away from the goal and towards more and more Maya. Why do we engage in these rituals? If somebody asks you, children might ask you, tell them the performance of the ritual. There is a very deep impression is left upon the mind of the person or the persons involved, so that they feel they are beginning a new life or have a new responsibility to fulfill. So the impression left on the mind as a result of the ritual is called sanskar vidhi. So we have seen the various karams or types of actions performed by the Karam Kand portion of the Vedas. Kamya karam, remember that. Try to remember these names. Kamya karam, nitya karam, kartavya karam, and sanskar karam. And we have also discussed their purposes. The purification, the discipline, the control of the mind, and impressing upon it a higher sense of duty and responsibility towards others. Beyond mere physical or a personal sense gratification. We got to move away from me and the mind. We got to just make that question in our mind weaker and weaker, that what's in it for me. And the second portion of the Vedas is the Upasana Kand. Upasana means worship, or literally sitting near. Upasan. Up means near and asan means sitting. So sitting near. Sitting near is not meant only in the physical sense. So that I am doing Guru Upasana, must only sit next to the Guru. It means that we must sit mentally near the object of our worship. Mind is a bigger portion when it comes to Upasana. Karam Kand, sure, we start out with the physical body. Eventually mind comes, but in Upasana, it's all about the mind. We begin to slowly imbibe the qualities of that object, whether we are mentally sitting close to the Guru or God. The best example is a log of wood. When it is placed near a fire, the log gradually becomes heated up and catches fire. Even if the log is wet, if it's put close to the flame, it will dry up and catch fire. So for the log of wood, this would be called an Agni Upasana. In the same way, in the Vedas, it said that we must do the Isht Devata Upasana, the worship of our chosen deity. Every idol represents an ideal. People unnecessarily criticize idol worship because they do not understand its significance. But in one form or another, everyone does idol worship. What we are doing when we salute the national flag, even though we see only a piece of cloth, we are actually saluting or revering the ideal which the flag represents, our national aspirations, our values, our entire culture. So the use of symbols for worship is meant for making the minds single-pointed. Okay. So with the Karam Kand, we purify the mind. With the Upasana Kand, we make our mind single-pointed. And we gain the very same qualities of the ideal we revere. This is just like tuning our television to a particular channel. We receive whatever program is being broadcast by that station. For example, a devotee meditating on Bhagwan Ramchandra ji, who was a model of a perfect king, a perfect son, husband, brother, will slowly gain those same qualities as Shri Ram. Similarly, we also become exactly like the company we keep. For example, a person who was not a smoker before started living with a person who smoked all the time will become a regular smoker too. This is called Sang ka Rang. So in the Upasana portion of the Vedas, wonderful meditations are prescribed in which we are given a pratik. It's called a pratik, a symbol representing a greater ideal upon which to fix the mind. It could be Om, it could be cross, it could be anything. By gathering all our attention at one point, we gain all the virtues of that ideal and finally become one with it. When the mind is purified, sharpened, and made single-pointed, let me tell you, it becomes a powerhouse of energy. There is a dynamism in that mind. And you see the dynamism in anything you do. And you feel like you can achieve anything too. So the culmination of our practice of Karam Kand and Upasana Kand really makes us ready. It makes our mind ready for the higher knowledge, which we discussed last week, the Gyan Kand, or which we discuss in those Upanishads every Thursday also. So remember the Karam Kand, Upasana Kand, even though we just love to study the Upanishads, but if our mind is not pure with the help of the Karam Kand done properly, and if we have not made our mind one-pointed, no matter how many deep scriptures we study, will not make much difference. So that's why I wanted to talk about Karam Kand, and it's all day long we do Karam Kand. All day long. It's not just only half an hour or 45 minutes or 2 hours, no. All day long. Remember that. You're trying to purify your mind. Let's stop it here and have some discussion. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.